Bonjour, hello to my YouTube channel. I'm Emily and I'm a featured Olympus Pro photographer. I post videos on photography, tips, gear, tricks every Sunday, so feel free to go and browse around. So for this week's video, I thought I would do an unboxing of my new lens. That's right, the Olympus M.ZUIKO 150 to 400 millimeter F4.5. I am so excited, and full disclosure, I didn't wait to make this video to open it. I already opened it, so I just put it back so you guys can see the unboxing of the lens and feel like you with me and you opening this absolutely amazing lens. I've been waiting for it for a really long time, but I'm just so happy with it. So let's go and take a look at this little lens. Ta-da! Here it is. Look at it. Just beautiful design and so well engineered. But before I tell you why I invested in this lens, I want to give you a couple of specs. So first of all, I switched to Olympus because I really wanted to have a lightweight camera, and some of you might think like that's not lightweight, but really for that type of reach it is super lightweight compared to other gear in the field. You can't find lighter. I actually had a couple of my friends who are photographers, and I just handed the lens with the camera and they just couldn't believe how light it is. It is only 4.1 pounds, which is the equivalent of 1.875 kilos. So, I mean, it's under 2 kilos. That's just insane. And that's without, that weight is without the lens hood, but the lens hood is actually super light. For the dimension, it is only 12.4 inches, so basically it fits in my 30-liter bag, which is great. I can, put it in my bag and take it as a carry-on in the plane, which is very important for me. And I can also carry other lenses with it, not just this lens in my one carry-on bag. And they're really using really lightweight material for this lens. That's why they can, keep the weight so low. And so it makes it really easy to handheld. Like I went on maybe for 6 hours, maybe 7 hours last week, and I had zero problem just holding on to the lens. No need for a tripod, no need for a monopod, which makes it easy because I don't want to be on my tripod and all of a sudden the animal I'm looking at flies far away and I have to, scramble with a tripod. Here I am so flexible. I'm also flexible in the way that I can shoot at different angles. I don't have to readjust my tripod all the time. And so for me as a wildlife photographer, it is key. I need to be able to handhold my gear and be flexible in the field. So most of you know Olympus for their amazing image stabilization, and this lens, it's the same. You actually get 8 stops of image stabilization if you pair it with the EM1X under certain conditions. It's just really amazing. That's what I was telling you. It's lightweight, but also the stabilization is amazing. So you don't need a tripod. And I think like Olympus really did it. And that's the ultra zoom revolution that they promised us. And they created it. So now let's talk about aperture. So it's a fixed aperture of 4.5, which is really amazing. I don't know how they managed to do this in such a small lens. And with the built-in teleconverter, so right here, you are switching to a 5.6 aperture, which is still pretty good. Now, that's for the maximum aperture, but for the minimum one, it's 22, and with the converter, it's gonna go to 29. So in terms of focal length, if you're a macro four third, it's 150 to 400, but if you are if you want the 35mm equivalent, it is 300 to 1000 with the built-in. And then you can also add a teleconverter. I have the 2x teleconverter. That means that's a 2000mm range. 2000. I mean, that's just insane. I can't believe that range. And I actually used it with the built-in teleconverter and the 2x teleconverter, and I got some, pretty good results, so I'm really happy. That's not something that I'll be worried of using if you use it in the right condition and correctly. So lots and lots of reach for the wildlife photographer like me. And I'm also a macro photographer, and yes, this lens can do a little bit of macro because it can focus at 1.3 meter, which is really, really close. So if I stand up and I point the lens to my feet, I actually can get focus, which is really amazing. So you can also do some macro for a little bigger insect, but even I've seen some people doing macro of flies with this, and it looks really, really sharp and amazing. So a great lens for macro as well. So when I take it on a walk, I usually take the OMD EM1 Mark III. I think it's a great camera to pair with this lens. It's not as heavy as the EM1X, even if the EM1X is actually pretty light camera, but you're shedding a couple of grams here, so it's always nice. Both cameras are really amazing. So here is the comparison. That's with the EM1X, and this one is with the OMD EM1 Mark III. So they're both very, very well balanced, I think, on this lens. Now let's take a look at what we have. Here we have the 1.25 teleconverter. So you just click and switch, and here we go. We have a 1.25 teleconverter built in. It's very easy. It's right there at your fingertip. It's very well designed. Next to it, you have a set button. And that set button is to, let's take an example. So for example, there is a bird right in front of me. It's on a perch. I'm going to take a couple of pictures of these birds, and I know that this bird will come back on this perch, so it flies away. I'm taking other pictures of the bird high up in the trees, but I know this bird in a few minutes is going to come back to that perch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press on that set button, and it's going to remember, okay, your focus is on this branch or on this perch. And if I change my focus, I'm shooting high up in the tree, and all of a sudden I see this bird coming back, I can press this button here, and it's going to focus back to the focus I set with this setup button. So that's really cool to have. If you don't want to, if you don't care much about setting up a distance, a focus distance, you can actually set up those 4 buttons. There are 4 buttons, but they are the same. So you set all of them for one function. So here you have a preset, and the preset is basically the original. So those buttons are going to respond to that focus distance that you set with this button here. So you can just click on it, and it will go back to the last focus distance that you set up here. but a lot of people want to have different function, so you can just click on the LFN, and then in the menu of your camera you can set a function for those buttons. There are 4 of them, but they actually are the same, so you can only set them for one function. Okay, you can't just decide to have one function here and a different one here. They're going to be the same. Now on the other side of the lens you also have the switch for the noise, you have the AF or manual focus, you have the stabilization on and off. Make sure when you go and shoot, make sure that you didn't play with it, that it's still on, which it should be most of the time. And then you also have how far you want this camera to focus. So most of the time you're going to have the 1.3 meter to infinity, but let's say you have a subject that's very close, you might want to do the 1.3 to 6 meter, so that your lens know I have to focus close, so you're just helping it a little bit. Or if you have something very far and you might have some branch right in front of you and you don't want your lens to spend too much time on trying to decide where the focus should be, you can set it for 6 meters to infinity. Okay, but most of the time you want it on the 1.3 meter to infinity. Now here there is a really big knob, and that will allow you to do a 90-degree rotation, so you can switch from landscape mode to portrait mode. And you heard the click, it's really well done. So oh yeah, that's where it should be, and you could do it on the other side as well. So really nice, very smooth. Another thing here, you can actually on both sides you can add a strap to your lens if you want, and the strap, remember, comes in the bag. And then you have the grip here, and the grip is great. I love it because it's Arca Swiss, so I don't need to have any extra adapter because I'm already using this system, so I can just clip it on my tripod if I'm taking a really long video. And also here the grip, it has like a kind of rubber, and it's not smooth, so it doesn't feel like you're gonna slip, so you can really carry it that way. It's very nice. You can't take off the feet like in some other cameras, but you could unscrew it if really you don't want that feet in your bag. As I said, this will fit in a 30-liter bag, but you might want to take that off if you are traveling and want to gain some space, so you could do that here by unscrewing those 4 screws. Now with this camera, I actually ordered a filter. It's quite expensive, but it's an insurance policy. As I said, this lens is not a cheap lens, so I went with the filter that Olympus recommended to me, and it's just extra protection. I want my glass to be protected, even if really I feel like if you have your lens hood on, you shouldn't have any problem. And then when you're traveling, this is super strong. Like you can't bend this. I don't know what they put in there, but once it's on your lens, on your glass, then it will protect it very well when you're traveling. So now, why did I decide to buy this lens? I felt like where I was in my photography journey, that was important for me to have this lens. I shoot with the 100 to 400 for a year. I love it. You can get some amazing result with this lens, but I wanted that extra light, and also that lens is just beautiful. I don't know, that the photos that you're getting with it, they're special. They have that special feel to them. I can't really describe what it is. It's so sharp, and it's been a pleasure to go out in the field with this lens. I don't think it's ever gonna come out of my camera. it might, you know, be replaced by the new WAR camera. That's highly possible. I can't wait to see what they're planning, because honestly, if the WAR camera is as good as this lens, yeah, we are really in for a treat. So for me, I wanted to improve my photo, get to the next level. I had saved the money for this lens. I've been waiting for this lens, so I could justify it. Also, some people told me, well, you should go with the 300. It's really an amazing lens, and it is. But I feel like, as a wildlife photographer, where I am right now, I love the zoom. I like to have that option of a zoom. It gives me more creativity and more options. Yes, if I have a prime, I can, you know, move back and forth, but there are times where I won't be able to be fast enough to move back and forth with the 300. So the 150 to 400 is the right lens for me. I'm a big fan of zoom lens. So I hope this video was informative and it will help answer some of the questions you have. But again, don't hesitate. If you have any more questions, just put them in the comment below. I'll be very happy to answer them. And until then, have fun, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye, guys.